and I believe that every human being is given 2 or 3 talents. It's a different thing that you've been given a talent in architecture, but you want to become an actor. It doesn't. That's a desire, whereas your talent lies elsewhere.
In the school, nothing really triggered to what I am today.
Right.
But I was a pretty average student till my 10th standard.
How do you bring the balance of both, like the vulnerable and the comic, in your performances?
Yeah, it's not very calculative actually. I also just try and follow the script, and if there is a scope of humor, yeah, you just try and create it.
Most interesting part about acting.
Right.
It's more about restraint than exposition. The idea is to kind of restrict yourself and within the parameters of the text itself,
Right.
and then perform.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Hindu. First of all, congratulations for Adarsh Baal Vidyalaya. The trailer looks very exciting, and I sort of wanted to begin by taking you back to your school days. Were there any specific subjects that you leaned more towards when you were in school? And do you know why was that the case?
I really enjoyed history as a student. Just because I think maybe it also opens up imagination. हिस्ट्री आप पढ़ते तो मैं कुछ को सोचने लगता था कि उस टाइम पे कैसा होता होगा, कैसे दिखता होगा. शायद वो आज मुझे हेल्प कर रहा है अपने काम में.
Right.
But yeah, that's one subject I was really excited about.
Interesting. Naveen?
I was very fond of maths.
Okay.
Like, and yeah, maybe because I was more comfortable with numbers and I was bad at languages.
Okay.
So yeah, also my father was a maths teacher, so maybe that would have helped. And yeah, and quite interested, quite like I was, yeah, really into mathematics.
So you must be having an analytical mind, or
yeah, in fact, CAT के entrance में मेरा DI में बहुत अच्छा score आया था.
okay.
So हाँ, analytical mind भी है, and I also worked as a data analyst for a while, sir, before so came into films. So हाँ, उसका भी it was mostly to do with numbers.
Right.
So yeah.
Mine was basically, I quite liked science. So later on I went into physics and did my graduation in physics and all that stuff. So I quite enjoyed physics. And
Right.
Yeah.
Also, were there any moments in your school life or childhood when you felt that, that shaped your journey as a creative artist or just as a human, which you, like in retrospect, if you feel that was an important moment?
I didn't know I had it in me to such time that I've mentioned this earlier also. At the age of 9, I was on stage. And I used to enjoy that process. And I didn't know that, it came easy to me then. And I didn't know that that is something that you've been given. And till much later in life, I realized that I'm enjoying this more than all this stuff that I'm doing. So I kind of stuck to it later on. After doing everything else, including my MBA and everything else, I went back into acting. Yeah.
So what was that moment when you realized that this is what you want to do later?
Yeah, थोड़ा philosophical है, बोरियत हो जाएगी, इसलिए मैं हाँ, because it's just that you it's a calling that you realize.
Okay.
And I believe that every human being is given 2 or 3 talents.
Right.
It's a different thing that you've been given a talent in architecture, but you want to become an actor. It doesn't. That's a desire, whereas your talent lies elsewhere. So when you realize that, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be, and then you kind of are somewhere else doing your science and MBA and doing management and all that stuff, advertising. So you kind of then get back.
Come back.
You didn't find joy there.
Right.
And suddenly you know that this is something that is to come to you as joy.
Right.
And you ignore it. And you go back to it. So that was a stage in which I went back into. So I became a pauper by choice after that, because when you do that stuff, when you do stage, etc., you don't have money, especially in our time.
Yeah.
There was no money there. So so you become a pauper by choice. Which is why I don't say it's like struggle or anything like that, but it's my choice.
Yeah.
And gradually things happened. Yeah.
See, it was not a planned thing that I came into films, but also it was not a very impromptu thing. I was always fascinated by films. I mean, when I was in school, like there was a lot of padhai ka pressure. We were not really allowed to watch a lot of films, but still somehow, you will end up watching films, and that that really intrigued me. And I think that part influenced me more than my school life.
Okay.
Like because school से किरदार बना है मेरा, लेकिन जो I think interest आया towards this, that happened I think because I watched a lot of films. मेरे cousins मुझे encyclopedia भी बोलते थे because film encyclopedia, because मुझे music directors के नाम और ये सब पता होते थे, dialogues पता होते थे. मैं हाँ,
So you're a geek basically.
हाँ मतलब 90s में. अब मुझे नहीं पता होते हैं जब मैं धंधे में आ गया हूँ. सो हाँ, लास्ट 10-15 साल की मुझे फिल्मों के कुछ डायलॉग्स नहीं पता हैं.
Right.
सेट पे अपने डायलॉग्स नहीं पता हैं. तो
Right.
But with the school, nothing really triggered to what I am today.
Right.
But I was a pretty average student till my 10th standard. And 10th में मैंने मेहनत करी, पढ़ाई करी, तो मेरे अच्छे मार्क्स आ गए. तो खाली एक ही टेक अवे था कि वो मेहनत अगर कहीं पे लगा लो अपने दिमाग, तो you will make it.
Right.
Because eventually the decision to enter this industry came in much later after my graduation.
Right.
So I did not really have any idea that I would be doing this.
Wow. Okay.
So I think the little takeaway was just keep at it.
Right.
कुछ ना कुछ हो जाएगा. ओके, तो मेहनत करते रहो, बल्ब जलेगा.
बल्ब जलेगा बस.
बल्ब जलेगा.
एक्चुअली यू नो व्हेन यू कम फ्रॉम अ मिडिल क्लास फैमिली, आप थोड़े सेफ पाथ पे पहले चलते
Correct.
हो और फिर
Yeah.
ग्रेजुअली आप रियलाइज करते हो कि आप लाइफ में क्या करना चाहते
आपका calling
हाँ,
है.
हो. तो वो
जैसा
तुरंत तो
sir वो
नहीं
कहते
पता
हैं.
होता है कि यू नो.
Correct.
हाँ.
आप वो थोड़े पीसेस उठाते रहते हो स्कूल में और वो इवेंचुअली आपको लेके जाते हैं.
Yeah. Correct. Coming to the show, Himank, I wanted to ask you, when you are working on a script that is written by a set of different people, how do you sort of make sense of it? What is your starting point?
The good thing is it didn't feel like it was written by set of different people, because the writing was headed by Bisso, with Nupur, Akshay, Tatsat and Meghna as a part of it.
Yeah.
Because वो script इतनी cohesively tight थी, I think not just me, even the cast, they knew what they have to do. So मेरे लिए तो बहुत आसान हो गया था to direct this. All I had to take care of was the world that we were building. So just the clarity in writing helped me. So there was absolutely no ऐसा कोई different perspective नहीं आ रहा था, clash नहीं हो रहा था कि मैं ये नहीं सोच पा रहा हूँ या बिस्सो वो नहीं सोच पा रहा.
Right.
हम दोनों का I think काफी similar एक ही
match.
track में थे.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you've seen you in a variety of different roles over the years, and this feels like a very light-hearted show, and you also seem to be having fun like while doing it. It's not that you're not having fun in other places, but it just seems very candid and like very likable in a way. How was it for you to approach the character, because it's not you know, as how we are used to seeing you in like darker shades and stuff like that?
I guess half your battle is won if the writing is good. So for me, the writing was superb. So all I needed to do was adhere to what was written there, and automatically things would happen. And my discussions with Himank, with Bisso, with Samir, they helped a lot, because then I got introduced to that world very quickly, and I became comfortable with it, and I proceeded from there. I don't really, you really can't say that 1 + 1 is 2 here. You really can't do that, because it's a very collaborative art form. So you really can't say that, okay, this is what I have. It's everything falling into place, and you liking first and foremost the script itself. That starts from there, and you liking that person called Gyaneshwar, whom you want to play. These are the two prerequisites. After that, everything flows in place. So everything here fell into place at the right time, and I assume it's flowered into a good character.
Yeah. But it's also a very different side of you that you are projecting here, as opposed to, like where you're playing a cop, you're playing a negative character. This is a very different side of yourself that you're seeing. So how do you bring that out? Is the process of bringing that out different in any way?
No, you just stick with reading the script a number of times, and restrain yourself from bringing something else apart from Ganeshwar from within you.
Yeah, right.
So that's all you do. So it's all from within you only.
Right.
And with experience, you kind of shut off the other taps that are going to flow.
Right.
And you proceed with this.
Fair.
So I don't think, and that's the most interesting part about acting.
Right.
It's more about restraint than exposition.
Correct.
We can easily get into illustrative acting, which is hamming, but
Right.
that's not the idea. The idea is to kind of restrict yourself and within the parameters of the text itself,
Right.
and then perform. It's like having a football field, and
Hmm.
hence you're a good football player.
Hmm.
If your field was endless, then I don't know whether you really can call yourself a good football player.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so the smaller the area, the more dribbling is possible, and that makes you even more attractive.
Fair enough. That's very interesting take. Uh, Naveen, coming to you, in like some of the recent work, something that really strikes me out is how there's a mix of very relatability and also a vulnerable side to you know, that you sort of portray quite well. Uh, and there's also a sort of comic touch to some of the characters that you play. Uh, how do you bring the balance of both, like the vulnerable and the comic, in your performances?
Yeah, it's not very calculative actually. I also just try and follow the script, and if there is a scope of humor, uh, yeah, you just try and create it. Otherwise, हाँ, हालांकि it's been a long time since I did some, comedy, like, humor part on camera. So yeah, it's again, it's just sticking to the script, yeah,
Hmm.
and kind of uh, coordinating, collaborating with your maker.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's it's not we're not creating it in isolation.
Right.
In fact, a lot of people are working with us on our characters. So it's
Right.
yeah.
I also want to open up the conversation on comedy a little bit, because you've also done comedy before with TVF, and we've seen you do that also in Satu Chakke or a lot of films. What is it about comedy that you keep hearing that it's very difficult to, make people laugh, in terms of, also making, like, directing comedy, and also acting in a comedy film? How is it like different than any other sort of genre?
I think I'm okay with humor.
Hmm.
I don't think I can really be funny.
Okay.
So that's a different game altogether.
What's the difference between?
They're geniuses. For example, Govinda is one. Genius. I mean, you can give him 2 lines and he'll make a entire scene out of it. So they're that, or Jim Carrey or a Steve Martin, because they're all geniuses in their own right, in that impromptu genre. I don't belong to that. I don't think I can. I don't have the caliber for that. So for me, it has to be there in the script itself. If it's not there, then I really don't think I can pop something out of my.
Okay. Yeah.
So in that sense, humor is, if it's already ingrained in the script, then I will kind of improvise on it and bring it alive. If it's not there, then it requires somebody else. For example, Himank a couple of times has told me, can we try this? And it became really funny. So,
Right.
so things like that. So,
Right.
yeah.
आपको वैसे कौन सा कॉमेडी पार्ट लगा है मेरा?
TVF में
कौन सा?
मैंने बहुत टाइम हो गया देखे हुए, बट पिक्चर्स में आई हैव सीन सम एपिसोड्स व्हिच वर
हाँ, मतलब आई थिंक मैं इतना नहीं कर रहा हूँ, कॉमेडी। वो शायद
द सिचुएशंस अराउंड यू।
वो जोन या वो जो शो का टोन है, आई थिंक
यस,
इट्स लाइक एक जैसे हमारे शो में ज्ञानेश्वर का कैरेक्टर है, जो सर ने प्ले किया है। अगर सेटअप अलग कर दो, सर का सेम परफॉर्मेंस रह सकता है, लेकिन सर बहुत बड़े क्रीक भी दिख सकते हैं, है ना? तो वो जोन तो मेकर से बनता है, आई थिंक, कि आपको इस पे हंसी आएगी या डर लगेगा, शायद बहुत सारी चीजों से। सो इवन इन पिक्चर्स मैं कुछ डिलिबरेटली कॉमेडी नहीं कर रहा हूँ, द वे दे हैव पैकेज्ड इट, सर्टेन मोमेंट्स, सर्टेन सीन्स, तो वो दे केम आउट एज funny. For me, it was a very intense part.
राइट,
The bulb jalega boss and all those speeches and all.
Yeah.
I mean, I got emotional while saying those lines.
Yeah.
I mean, I was supposed to. That's what the directors.
या
So हाँ, मतलब मैं तो, मेरा बड़ा मन है यार, I do a full-fledged
कॉमेडी
comedy and हाँ. So
फेयर। हिमांक?
It also depends on the kind of comedy you want to do.
Hmm.
एक तो हो गया, if somebody does a slapstick comedy, there's ample amount of space for improvisation. But improvisation alone cannot take the scene where it wants to go. You need a solid script behind it.
True.
So, at least in our case, what we made sure is, first we have to make it real. because, for example, whenever Sir acted, he stayed true to his character. To reach there, we also did a lot of rehearsals, but we made sure it's not mechanical. The moment Sir or Naveen, if they're acting and they're saying कि यार इस line के बाद मैं ये बोलूँगा या मैं इतना pause लूँगा, तो वो comedy नहीं बनेगी. It's on them to realize कि एक flow में निकल जाना चाहिए. It's difficult to explain how comedy works. But वो mechanical नहीं हो सकती बस. एक word.
Right. It has
हाँ
to
ना?
be in motion.
Yeah, it has to be not even emotional. एक flow बनता है scene का. जब आप पढ़ते हैं ना एक scene, whenever you read a scene, आप reading करते हैं, you realize कि इसका flow शायद इसी tempo पे चलना चाहिए.
Correct.
उतना अगर figure out हो गया, then the fun will come out because the jokes that are written are fun.
Right. Right. We've been seeing you for a long time. I saw you Naseem also, and I think that was your first film.
Yeah,
And really liked you from there, Hazaro Khaishin, and over the years. In the past, I think 30 years, 29, 30 years, has your process of selecting a film or working on a film or breaking down a character changed in any way?
No, it's gradually improved in the sense that initially I had no idea as to how to, but gradually, of course, you start learning through experience, and also the performance-wise, you change the way you look at a performance. Like I said, no, I don't like smart performances. Okay, I don't like the smartness creeping into a performance. कि देखो इसमें smartness दिखा है. I want the genuine purity to come out, whatever be the character. So that's something else. So these things are a part of my learning process. I really can't. I don't know where I began. I must have began as obviously as a novice, compared to the journey. But yeah, there was a time when I didn't know how to. I was a theater. I used to do theater earlier. For me to adapt myself into cinema, I didn't know how to do it. And it takes some time to do different mediums. You see, you need to adapt yourself. And I remember reading. I was going. Those days, there used to be these pilot shows done for approval.
Yeah.
You do one episode.
Yeah.
So one of those many that I did, which never got approved, but one of them I did. I was sitting there in the green room, and the next actor went off for a shot, and then he left a book there. I never read books on acting.
Okay.
Boring stuff. But I like to read autobiographies and all that stuff. So
Right.
it gives you a sense, no? It gives you the smell of the studio. You identify with it. So I happened to pick that book just for a time pass. And the first page read, the camera is like your girlfriend. Never ever try and impress the camera. So the moment I read that, because the girlfriend can see through it.
Can't lie
What-
to the camera.
So don't try and impress the camera. Suddenly I got that little
Right.
thing, okay, fine. The cinema acting is completely based. I mean, you can do that as a dan acting. It's a
Yeah.
different thing. It's a
Yeah.
different genre which
Yeah.
is available to the stars.
Yeah.
But general performances, you don't try and impress the camera. The camera will get impressed if you're true to what you're doing. You'll get impressed.
Right.
So for me, I enter. I don't make an entry. That's the whole difference. So if those things kind of, I got that little sense from it. The camera watches you very closely. Is one more line.
Right.
Never ever try and impress the camera.
Right.
So sometimes camera sees more than even the director can see,
Right.
because director is sitting a bit far away and you're in a close up.
Closer. Yeah.
And when you see it on the monitor vis-a-vis naked eye, it might also be different. So those things I kind of inculcated into it,
Right.
and tried my best to be as true as possible. I failed a number of times, but that's been the endeavor.
You know when you failed?
I guess there are many instances where I failed. I think I failed more than I've succeeded.
Okay.
But that's the whole process, I guess.
Lovely. Thank you so much for this
Thank you so much.
conversation, and wish you the best for
Thank-
Adarsh Baal Vidyalaya.
Thank you.
Thank you.